Have you ever looked at a friend and thought, how is it possible we make the same amount of money, but our lives look completely different? One person is saving, maybe traveling, feeling pretty secure, while the other is just barely scraping by, living paycheck to paycheck. It's this weird puzzle, right? And it goes so much deeper than just, oh, you should budget better. So let's get into it. Let's peel back the layers and find out what's really going on. Okay, so let's meet our two case studies, Alex and Ben. Now, on paper, you could call them financial twins. They're both sharp, they work hard, and they each pull in a very respectable $75,000 a year. So you think their day-to-day lives, their financial stress levels, they look pretty similar, right? Well, nope, not even close. So what gives? How can this be? The answer, and this is the important part, isn't really about one person being good with money and the other being bad with money. It's about all these invisible forces, these hidden costs that are baked into where they live, and that decide where their money goes long before they even get a chance to spend it. All right, first up, let's dive into what I call the same salary paradox. It's this idea that the number on your job offer doesn't always line up with your actual financial reality. Okay, here is the crucial piece of the puzzle. Alex lives in a big, bustling U.S. city. Ben, on the other hand, lives in a quiet European suburb. For the sake of our comparison, they're both single, no kids, working in similar jobs. But that one single difference, their location, is the first domino that's going to set off this massive chain reaction, sending their financial lives in two totally different directions. So next, we got to look past that big, flashy salary number. Let's actually follow the money and see where it goes first, because it's not where you think. Right off the bat, the very first place their financial paths diverge is taxes. See, even though they have the same gross salary, completely different tax policies mean Alex and Ben take home wildly different amounts of money. That $75,000 figure, it's already shrinking, and it's shrinking at a different speed for each of them. And this brings up such a fundamental point that we all forget sometimes. The salary you're quoted in a job offer, that's your gross income. But the number that actually matters is your net income, your take-home pay. That's the cash that hits your bank account, and believe me, it is always smaller than you think it's going to be. So after the government takes its slice of the pie, where does the rest of their money go? Well, this next expense is almost always the biggest roadblock or the biggest boost to your financial freedom. Whoa, just look at that gap. It is massive. The single biggest line item for both Alex and Ben is putting a roof over their head. But the cost? It's just worlds apart. This right here is where living in a major city versus a suburb creates this huge financial canyon between them. Let's put some hard numbers on it, because this is where it gets crazy. Alex's cool city apartment, it's costing him a staggering $2,200 a month. Ben's comfortable place out in the suburbs, just $1,300. That is a $900 difference every single month. Before he even buys a single coffee, Alex is already starting from a $900 deficit compared to Ben. And you know what? It doesn't stop there. Beyond the obvious cost of rent, there's this whole other category of expenses that are also dictated by your zip code. These are the unseen costs, the ones that quietly bleed your bank account dry. Okay, let's break this down. Take transportation. To get around the city, Alex basically needs a car. That's $550 a month for the car payment, insurance, gas, the whole deal. Ben, he uses an efficient public transit system for just $80. And healthcare? Alex's private insurance premium is $400. Ben's public contribution is only $120. Even groceries are $100 more expensive in Alex's city. It just adds up, and it adds up fast. So, after the tax man, the landlord, and all these other major costs get their cut, what's actually left over at the end of the month? The answer is kind of shocking, and it forces us to completely rethink what wealth really is. For Alex, after everything is said and done, this is it. $450. That's his money for savings, for investing, for an emergency, a vacation, or even just a nice night out. That is not a lot of breathing room at all. And now, let's look at Ben. Same starting salary, remember. But because his fixed costs are so much lower, he's left with $1,200 a month. That is nearly 3 times what Alex has. Ben can actually build an emergency fund, he can invest, he can live his life without that constant financial pressure. This is the result of the paradox. So here's the absolute key takeaway. The most important number for your financial health isn't your salary. It is your disposable income. This is the figure that truly defines your lifestyle, your options, and your ability to build real, lasting wealth.
The comedian Chris Rock has this brilliant quote that just says it all. Ben isn't wealthy in that stereotypical millionaire sense, but he has so many more options than Alex. He has the freedom to make choices without being trapped in a financial corner. That flexibility, that is its own kind of wealth.
And all of this leaves us with one final, really big question to chew on. Our society, we're kind of obsessed with high salaries as the ultimate measure of success. But if that big salary just gets vaporized by high taxes and an even higher cost of living, what have you actually gained? It really makes you stop and think about what success really looks like and whether the number on a paycheck is the right way to measure it at all.